Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lion and Liverbird podcast. Today's episode, we will be focusing on Liverpool because Liverpool have been flying high all throughout this season, right? They're top of the league in the Premier League, they were top of the league in the Champions League, running rampant in all the cups. But they've hit a bit of a roadblock in the last week or so, which started off with a 1-0 loss to Plymouth, of all teams, in the FA Cup, followed by a 2-2 draw away to their bitter rivals Everton, right? And so we'll talk about these matches. We'll talk about what it means going forward, whether it'll affect Liverpool's title run. And with that, I'll give it over to Adim. Maybe we can start off with the Plymouth game.
Yeah, so the Plymouth game was interesting because we're going away to a lower league side. This turned out to be, one of those classic FA Cup games. Plymouth were bottom of the championship, the worst team in the second division. Yeah,
Wow.
they were bottom, and they beat us fair and square. They had the better chances. One of the startling facts from the game was our goalkeeper, Kelleher, had the same number of shots on target as our front three combined. So that just goes to,
Wow.
yeah. And that also came in the last minute of the game when Kelleher actually headed a corner and it almost went in. So that just goes to show
Oh,
how
man.
terrible we were. So I think Arne Slot also mentioned that, it was a very bad performance. Now, in hindsight, you'd say that you didn't have your big hitters. We had discussed this in the previous episode that a lot of our first teamers were not traveling. So if you look at the Liverpool starting lineup against Plymouth, we did not have Van Dijk, we did not have Konate, we did not have Trent or Connor Bradley, no Nunes. Okay, he may or may not be the number one. No Salah. We did not play Gakpo, I believe. Our midfield wasn't there, so no Soboslai, no Gravenberg, nobody. But when you look at the players on the field, you expect them to put up a fight and get a win, right? So you had Diogo Jota, you had Luis Diaz, and you had Federico Chiesa. Two of those are our first teamers, Diaz and Jota,
Yeah.
and they mustered and did absolutely nothing. When you
Mm.
look at the midfield, you had Enyoyi. Endo had to come on, I think, later. He had to shift to the centre back position. So Endo, Enyoyi, and Elliot. Endo and Elliot obviously could do better. I think Endo did actually very well. So I don't think we can really complain much about him. He was, I think, the one player who gave it his all. But Elliot is the one who gave a really daft handball away in the penalty. I think he was trying to do a basketball block. And I can't believe he had the gall to tell the referee that, what can I do? How can I jump without raising my arm? A left back Simicas had a terrible game. I think Gomez, poor guy, got injured and he's gonna be possibly out for a long time. Kwanzaa isn't who he was last season under Klopp. Slot doesn't rate him as much, and he hasn't developed as well. And then we had young McConnell also playing, and we bought on a few other youngsters. But again, all credit goes to Plymouth for what they did. And this is a good and a bad thing for us. So the bad thing is that this actually raises a lot of questions on the futures of these players because they don't always get a chance to shine, right? Like your Endos, your Elliots, even maybe your Chiesa. This was a chance for them to show that, okay, we can step up and we can do something for the club and help them out. But most of them really put up a terrible performance. I mean, I know you can keep on saying stuff like, this team hasn't played together and all, but this is Liverpool. You have enough quality on the pitch to get the win, and they did not deserve the win. So kudos to Plymouth. Interesting fact, right? Plymouth have beaten more Premier League sides this season than Championship sides. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's the beauty
so
of the cup.
that's the beauty of the cup, a classic FA Cup round. The fans were celebrating. I mean, they deserve it. So I really can't say anything much about that.
So, Adib, the only kind of interesting thing that I'm interested in knowing is Federico Chiesa, right? Because I'm looking at the SofaScore app and it's actually pretty good. It gives a lot of good details. And Chiesa is the lowest rated player out of, even like Enyoyi and all of those young players. And from what I'm looking at, he attempted 10 dribbles and only one was successful.
Uh,
And he had a 66% pass completion. That's crazy. What's going on there?
do you have the stats for the number of times he gave the ball away or lost possession?
Yeah, 29 times.
Yeah, that's
Possession lost.
insane.
Wow.
That's like one every 3 minutes.
Oh
How
my
how
God.
can a professional footballer who was so good for Italy and Juventus. I know, obviously, he had that
Mm.
injury, but he just did not seem up for it. I don't know
Mm.
if it's going to a lower league side, if it's his
Mm.
mentality, maybe there's some things that just don't click. Maybe this was just that one game where it doesn't work for anybody, but that was like a terrible stat. 29 giveaways, 29.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
he's
And his fitness isn't an issue anymore, right?
no, so we had a very a proper detailed regime for him to get back to
Hmm.
fitness. But you can see, right, when you see him play, that burst of acceleration isn't there. He isn't the case of
Right.
pre-ACL.
Mm.
And I don't know what is up with our wingers, right? Neither of them seem to be able to beat their man. I don't know
Mm.
what kind of wing play is this. Luis Diaz does yoga bonito on the left and then decides to pass it to the midfield. Chiesa can't cross, can't run, can't do anything. And I don't know what Jota was doing. I think Jota was just upset because I think there was a PlayStation Network issue and he couldn't play FIFA or whatever that day. So I think that's what affected him a lot. So we're joking about this, but I think it also helped us out by getting knocked out of the FA Cup. Arne Slot was slagged off by a lot of people for saying that he disrespected the cup, but I wouldn't say that. I think he was managing his team. He put out a pretty decent side. Kelleher is
Yeah.
to be the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Like I think he's the best number two we have, like in the Premier League. So you can't say that. Kwanzaa and Gomez could start for quite a few PL sides. So you have to mix things around. Why this helps us is because we've seen time and again during the Jurgen Klopp era this holy quadruple chase that you want
Mm.
to do, right? And the wheels just follow the wagon. It's happened to us once, I remember, where I think we won the FA Cup, the League Cup, and then lost the other two. That Aston Villa beating Man City on the final day and the UEFA Champions League final to Real Madrid. I think it takes a toll on the side. And then
Mm.
the same thing happened last season, where we won the League Cup and then just completely this thing self combusted or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
So not having to play these FA Cup games, and the funny thing and the really great thing is that Plymouth will now play Manchester City away. So
Oh,
had we
wow.
won against Plymouth, we
Mm.
would have set up a tie at the Etihad. And you know how cup games are, right? You can't predict.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I think
Yep.
it's good. We probably saved 3 or 4 games, which saves a lot of the traveling, the legs, rest, recovery, etc. The Champions League will be coming up. We have a League Cup final, so that's good. And we will segue into the Everton game now because what a lot of fans and the groups that I was talking with, they were like saying that this is now the time for us to show that fine, we got kicked out of the FA Cup. We'll now put a strong showing against Everton at Goodison, the last Merseyside Derby at Goodison before the new stadium is built. But the funny thing is, whenever we've thought that this is the game where we're gonna grab the opposition by the throat and put them down and beat them up, the opposition throws a spanner in our works. We did Manchester United. It happened. It was a 2-2 at Anfield. Everton, I think I saw the entirety of the game, which is a first for me, like staying up the entire night. But Everton were really good. They got
Yeah. Yeah.
into
Yeah.
our faces. They were physical. They were winning the second ball. They did one really, really, really good thing is that they marked Gravenberg very well. Gravenberg was a non-entity for us. So he couldn't do those turns. He couldn't start or dictate play. He couldn't make a lot of moves. He had to be subbed by Slot in the second half, which is also a rarity. So credit to Everton for what it was. But because it's a Merseyside derby, right? There has to be a lot of
Yeah.
discussion points, a lot of controversy. So let's start off. Sorry. Yeah. Go.
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to say is with David Moyes' return to Everton, right? They've been so much better, right? They actually have their identity now and they embrace it, right? They basically had like these huge guys like 6'2" and 6'3" and above throughout the lineup. They're a very physical team, and like you said, they contested all the duels, won quite a few of them. So it's kind of interesting, in these times of just talking about Chelsea using these inverted fullbacks and God knows what, right? Just going with a strong physical team who can win duels gets you a good result. That's refreshing to see.
Yeah, so you played your strengths, right? I don't know why you would want to play
Agreed.
expansive football when you have that. David Moyes did that at Everton. He took them, I think, into the Champions League once, or at least the qualification rounds of the Champions League. I remember quite well. So he has a history of getting the best out of a limited team, and that's what he did. You don't have to go toe to toe with Liverpool. That's not what you're supposed to do. You do what you can do to beat them, and that's what they were doing. Now, let's talk about the controversies. The first goal that Everton scored came from a free kick that wasn't a free kick. The player fell over off balance. Michael Oliver gives a free kick. He gave so many free kicks to Everton, and he was brandishing cards to Liverpool players left, right, and center. Uh, he didn't give this one foul against Salah when he was on a break in the 92nd minute. I found it extraordinary. He's like 5 yards away. He can see he's been tripped and he didn't give that. And that was prime Trent Alexander-Arnold territory to score a goal. So let's go back. So Everton obviously scored first. We do well. We come back with a header from Alexis McAllister. And then, that entire game felt like it was a battle. It was a war.
Yeah.
We didn't see the Liverpool that we've seen before, who are controlled and calm and, having control of the game. Sure, they might have had more possession than Everton, but we never really threatened them. I think one thing we have understood, which needs to be binned, is this Luis Diaz playing as the central striker. I think that experiment has failed. I don't think he has scored or assisted a goal in 2025. So it's time for that to end. Cody Gakpo wasn't that great. Salah provided the assist and scored the crucial goal to take us 2-1 ahead. But even he felt a little off. But, this is the thing. Against United, against Everton, these two teams really went in, pushed it, they were very aggressive against us. And that actually worked out for them. So I really don't think we can say that Liverpool was so bad and these guys were so good. This is just the occasion. This was a cup final for Everton. The last Merseyside derby at Goodison. You want to do everything you can to keep some sort of a memory. Like, how bad would it be for them had Liverpool won the last Merseyside derby at Goodison? In the history books, right? And it's extraordinary as to how the match ended. So we didn't get that free kick. A couple of Everton players had collided in the 93rd or 94th minute. So there were 95 minutes to be played. And Michael Oliver then allowed them to get treatment, and then he kept on playing. The ball goes in. One of our players blocks it. Then it again goes to another player out wide. He hoofs the ball into the box. Konate is nudged. Yeah, Konate is nudged by Beto. Nobody sees that for some stupid reason. The ball bounces a couple of other times, and I think it was Tarkovsky.
Yeah, James Tarkovsky.
Hacks it in. This was
top corner, that too, man.
Insane. This and I saw that ball bouncing, and I thought to myself, this is a goal. Because you had that feeling that there is something more that is going to happen. I did not know that there was going to be a lot more that's going to happen after that goal. So Tarkovsky smacks it in, and Goodison goes berserk, and rightly so, because this is football. How can you control your emotions? He goes to running to the corner. He's pulled the corner flags off. Players are going out. There's a pitch invasion. It's pandemonium. There's this gif of Arne Slot losing his plot and he's running around, and on the background you can see he's just lost it, and in the background you can see, right, Jordan Pickford is doing this longest knee slide in the history of football, far away.
Amazing.
But this is what it is. This is what football
should be lovely.
About. It's lovely. I see a lot of fans, Liverpool fans, being upset about it, but we must also understand that this is possibly the toughest fixture that we'll have this season. It's a derby. It's Everton. And all these derbies are like this. I don't think like there's ever been a very comfortable derby, except for a couple of ones we had under Jurgen Klopp, where we beat them 4-1. And I think there was a 3-0 or a 3-1. But we've always had tough derbies. When Steven Gerrard was there, when Rafael Benitez was there, 1-0, 2-0s, 2-1s, stuff like this. So it's fine. This will happen. I think the other reason why Liverpool fans lost their cool is that, we were thinking of making it a 9-point lead over Arsenal. It's just 7. It's 7 points. There's 3 games where we have to drop points further for Arsenal to catch up. And I think we're so used to this title run-in with Manchester City, where every point dropped feels like you've lost the league. But it's not like that this season. Arsenal will drop points. Liverpool will drop points in the coming games. Coming back now, we're not finished with the derby. So 97th minute, Michael Oliver doesn't play any extra time. The ball is, I think, played back to us, and he blows the whistle. Abdoulaye Doucouré decides to uh, have a go at the Liverpool section of fans. So he runs across and I think, tries to shush them.
Yeah, he does a shush
It's just a
thing.
shush, right? Which is cool. It's fine. I found that to be great. I'm like, why wouldn't you do that? Like you're goading the fans. It's cool, right? But for some reason, and I don't know what happens, Curtis Jones just went Hulk. Like he became the Incredible Hulk. And
Yeah.
I saw this live, so I did not see Ducouré shushing the fans. So I saw him
Mhm.
running towards that side. I'm like, did Ducouré say something to Curtis Jones? What's happened? And this guy's just gone ballistic. He's pushed him to the back. He's grabbing his collar, and the two other Evertonians come in, and
Oh
Curtis
man.
Jones is handedly fighting three Evertonian players.
Yeah, yeah, it was a full-on melee,
It
right?
was a
Oh my
melee.
God. It's
And I'm like, what's
like
going on? And you know who's the peacemaker in all this, which I found to be extraordinary as well? Darwin Nunes. Darwin Nunes is the peacemaker. How is this
Oh
happening in
man.
this bizarro world? And,
Yeah.
and so, as expected, Curtis Jones got sent off. Ducouré got sent off. And then I saw our assistant manager constantly pestering Michael Oliver. And he's pointing to something, pointing to something. I'm like, what's going on there? So I thought he's trying to get somebody sent off, right? Like, fine, that's cool. Like, you try to do that. Then I see Arne Slot comes in and he shakes hands vigorously with Michael Oliver. He says something. And the next second, Oliver sends him off.
Oh, red
Yeah, get
card.
red card.
I
And
wonder
Slot
what he said to him. I
and
don't know.
and Slot's completely flabbergasted. He's like, I don't know what's happened. And Virgil van Dijk is flabbergasted. And he's like, what's happened? So Virgil van Dijk now going to talk to Oliver. So what I've also understood is that our assistant manager was also sent off. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so assistant manager, uh, Arne Slot and Curtis Jones all sent off. We will have to see the length of Arne Slot's ban because there was a report that said that he will be missing the next two games. That's
Mhm.
Wolves at home and then Aston Villa. But now it's said that no, the FA will have a look into this and then they'll decide if the two-game ban stays on or not. So I think what they'll do is they'll let him be the manager for West Ham and ban him for the two bigger games. That's Villa and Man City. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what they'll do. I think the FA is just trying to ensure, or not the FA, sorry, the PGMOL, sorry, is trying to ensure that there is a title race and there are talking points. Because apart from the Salah foul that he did not give, the yellow cards that he missed, this extra time that was added on, and VAR missing the push on Konate for some weird reason, Oliver had a terrible game. This is not the first time I've said this as a Liverpool fan. I think you'll remember he was the
Yeah.
when Jeremy Doku kicked Alexis McAllister in the chest, and
Yeah.
VAR said nothing, and he said nothing. I know Arsenal fans have been really upset with Oliver over the last few months. So I think he was just trying to even the numbers, but he just could not control uh, the emotion, the game, the emotion, and everything. It came to him. So the Merseyside Derby at Everton, Goodison, ends with a record of 41 wins for Liverpool. I think 41 wins for Everton, and I think
Wow.
18 draws or something, like the same number, like
Uh,
18 draws or something like that. So
that's like perfect, man. Like
yeah,
perfectly balanced.
yeah,
Oh.
perfect. Like everything should be Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of things to take from this. The good thing is that
So
our sorry, yeah. So the good thing is that our match against Wolves is just a few days away. You don't have to dwell on this for too long. And yeah, you're saying something.
yeah, so I think maybe I don't know. Everton has given like a blueprint for some of the smaller teams to kind of put up a fight against Liverpool, right? Just go physical, get your biggest guys on the field, and contest every duel. I don't know how many teams are equipped to do that because not everybody has like a Beto who's like a giant and Tarkovsky and all of these guys, but we'll see. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is I think the next game is relatively easy for Liverpool, of course, Wolves, but then you have Villa, City, and Newcastle, right? That's gonna become like a defining period for you guys.
Yeah, so these four games are really important for us. Uh, but I'm not too worried. So this was what I was going to explain to you as to why I'm not worried about anything happening to Liverpool or us capitulating. So first and foremost, we have a 7 point lead over Arsenal, who themselves are in a crisis of sorts. Their
Oh
entire
yeah,
forward line is absent,
yeah.
missing. Havertz is going to miss the
Havertz out for
season.
the season. Yeah, yeah.
Martinelli is injured. I think Saka is obviously injured. I think
Yep.
even Jesus is injured. So
Mhm.
their front three is, I think, Sterling, who's I don't know what can you say about Sterling. You've got Trossard, and you've got that youngster. I'm sorry, I might
Yeah,
be butchering his name.
it's
So
Ethan New
yeah.
even very new
So
very whatever.
unless they get Mikel Arteta to play to find some sort of this thing. So the thing is, Arteta isn't a Pep. He isn't a Klopp that he'll find some sort of a solution. He's not a Slot also. So they'll go to prime Stoke City FC. Like
Yeah,
that's what they're gonna do now. Gabriel
basically.
and Saliba are gonna be the center forwards, corners.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. Try to win,
yeah.
the games through goes through corners, basically. Yeah.
The other thing, obviously, I'm not really concerned about is that we've had these kind of issues and dips throughout the season. The Newcastle 3-3, Fulham 2-2. We had that loss to Forest, but we've always bounced back. It's not like we've
Hmm.
gone into a slump. These
Yeah,
two
yeah,
games that have happened, we can't call them slumps because Plymouth, well, this team didn't play. He didn't have Salah, he didn't have Van Dijk. And this game is a one-off. It's like that Manchester United game, right?
yeah,
Emotions are running high. You've got a team that's 15th, battling for their lives. And as you rightly said, there aren't many teams who will set up like Everton. Now,
yeah,
Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, to an extent, have made football in such a way that you want to play expansive football, but then you don't need a 6'5" center midfielder and three or two forwards who are 6 foot plus and all. You need those silky, smooth players.
yeah.
So that's there. And the other thing is we still have a 7 point lead. Arsenal need to win 3 games. We have to lose 3 games, and then they'll be ahead of us. We
Yeah.
still play Arsenal at Anfield, and Arsenal will drop points. Liverpool will also drop points. So it's not all doom and gloom. And Slot normally learns from all of this. So I'm
Hmm.
not really all that upset. Now, had we lost yesterday, like, by a 3 goal margin or something, then there would be the alarm bells ringing because it's Everton. You don't lose like that. But we've only lost 3 games, 4 games this season, right? Yeah. The one against Forest, which was a shocker, but we've bounced back well. The Tottenham game in the League Cup, which then we resoundingly beat them in the return leg. PSV Eindhoven and Plymouth. We played our reserve side. So I mean, we've got 2 losses. I don't know why people are losing their heads already. I think it's just that,
No,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's the back-to-back kind of effect, right? You don't expect Liverpool to be losing to a team at the bottom of the championship, and then, of course, a derby, where you were about to win a late kind of goal equalizing,
yeah.
it hurts. But I think you made a good point, right? The next game with Wolves is basically you should be able to win very easily, right? That's going to get your morals right back up. So I think it bodes well for you guys.
Yeah, and the other thing is Villa, City, and Newcastle are 3 teams that like to attack. Whenever we
Hmm.
play teams who are a little more open, right, this gives more space to our midfield. So Soboslai, McAllister, and Gravenberg will obviously have more space to operate. I'm just interested to see as to what we do in that center forward position because Slot doesn't trust Nunes. That's why he plays Diaz. But Diaz has been really terrible over the past 2, 3 months. Jota, I don't think is still up to 100% fitness because he was the first choice at the start of the season.
Hmm.
If we get that right, I think a lot of our problems will be solved because we were scoring a lot of goals earlier on. Now I think it's a little dried up for some games. So interesting times ahead for Liverpool. We need to see what happens. That's for sure.
Agreed, agreed, agreed. Yeah, I think I still think like I agree with you. Liverpool definitely are the clear favorites, especially with the injury crisis at Arsenal. But this just makes it a little bit more interesting for the rest of the teams, right? That's my thing takeaway.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. So this is the thing, right? When you're in a title run or a title challenge, right? You don't expect it to be all easy matches. So that the time that we won the Premier League title, right? I think it was an insane team that we had, and we won nearly every single game,
Yeah,
apart from
yeah,
a
yeah.
1-1 draw with United, and then we also drew at Everton. So those are the 2 games we've drawn again. It's United and Everton.
Yeah,
So it's
bodes
fine.
well.
Stuff like this
Yeah,
happens. I think we're just in this era where we lose our head too easily. I mean,
yeah.
that's just what it is. So we'll
Agreed,
see what
agreed, agreed.
happens.
Okay, I think we'll probably wrap up the episode here today. And there's not much to talk about Chelsea. We lost to Brighton in the weekend. We might lose again tomorrow, but we'll see. So again, thank you everybody for tuning into our show. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about our opinions, whether you like them, whether you hate them. We do read your comments, and we love to interact with whoever is listening to our podcast. And then we'll be back again next week to see what happens, what happens to the matches of Liverpool and Chelsea. And then we'll talk to you guys again soon. Okay, with that, take care and bye bye.
Bye bye.